You may not realize, but every picture taken at Disney gets screened, checked, examined, made sure it's proper, and the people that do that, sometimes they see stuff they wish they hadn't seen. Working over at MGM Studios gave me a lot of opportunities to do some new things, to get some new skills. One of those was QA, quality assurance. Quality assurance is a part of Photopass where they actually screen every single photo to make sure that the quality of the pictures is good, that there isn't any problems going on. It deals with ride photos, although at the time it was only one. It takes care of magic shots. It makes sure that there's nothing inappropriate in pictures. And every single picture that Disney takes is screened through QA. Now, QA has grown, it's morphed a little bit. So let me just start at the beginning with how I got into QA and then what it does and what it did and what it's doing today. QA was a department that at the time was housed at Disney MGM Studios. Our offices were there, our big VPs were there, QA was there in the offices in the back. One of the things I was looking for was opportunities to do more, to learn more, and we desperately needed help in QA. One of the things that we had to monitor at studios was what we called the queue. We could actually look at how many pictures were waiting to be screened and checked by QA, and when that queue got too big, pictures would start to slow down on uploading. They wouldn't be available for guests to see. They wouldn't get processed with the magic shots, and so if guests came in wanting to buy pictures, they may not be ready. They may not be able to see them. So we had to make sure that queue stayed low. And when the queue of pictures waiting to be screened got too big, they started pulling more people in to help. Well, because QA was at MGM Studios, it was our photographers they pulled in, but you had to be trained. So I was looking for an opportunity to be able to learn more. I'd watch them do it. It didn't look hard. And they finally decided, okay, we're going to train a bunch of photographers. I had been asking. There were a few others that were interested. So they got a training class together, and it led to the one bad day at work. There were two others, but the one bad day I had at that point in time, we had been called in. We were scheduled to get training for QA. I was excited. I showed up in the morning only to find that there was a group that they had already taken in training, even though I had shown up on schedule, and they ran out of computers to be able to train people. And I was not real happy because I was really looking forward to this, and I basically showed up for nothing. I couldn't get in. I couldn't get trained, and I ended up going home. The manager, knowing how ticked off I was about this, actually pulled me aside and said, I'm going to train you personally and get you signed off so we can get you doing this, because the way that happened, it wasn't right. I was not happy because I was probably the one that was kicking the squeaky wheel the most. And yeah, and then I didn't get in. But he pulled me aside. We went up to the office. We sat down, and they basically walked me through the software, walked what it does, showed me the standards they were expecting. So what happens when a picture is taken is the picture gets downloaded from the camera straight to the PDA. The PDA, the Personal Data Assistant, if people even know what that stands for anymore, then takes the picture. It adds on some information into the metadata. Now, at the time, this was all brand new stuff. People didn't realize this is what it was doing. But what it would do is it would load into the data of the picture. It would add in where it was taken, when it was taken, who took it, the characters in the picture, if those were identified, the time, and it put all this information in there, and then it would wirelessly transmit the picture. Wi-Fi at the time was brand new. This whole idea of wirelessly transmitting stuff was just, whoa, this is so cool. This is so neat. Now we take it for granted. But back in 2006, 2007, it was cutting edge stuff. After it gets uploaded into the Disney system, it then gets put into what's called the queue. And that's basically a stack of pictures that have been taken that are sent over to QA for them to screen. They pull up a batch of pictures, basically the group of shots that the photographer took. Typically, if it's from a location, it'll be a vertical picture of the icon, so like the castle or Spaceship Earth. It'll be a horizontal picture, and then there may be one or two candids and a magic shot, maybe. If it was with a character, then you've got, again, a vertical post picture, a horizontal post picture, and typically you'll have 2 to 5 candids of them playing with the character, autographs, and stuff like that. You get this batch of pictures that comes up on your screen. It's a basic photo editor, very, very basic. I'm sure they've added some features to it now. But you basically very quickly scan the pictures visually, just looking to make sure that there's nothing in the background inappropriate, that there's nobody in the foreground doing something inappropriate. I mean, even if it's not lined up right or out of focus, you're going to leave it more than likely, unless it's really bad. But you want to make sure there's nothing inappropriate in the picture, like somebody making hand gestures or doing something to the character, or in the case of the ride, that they're not flashing the camera or something like that. Yes, that did happen. Just a quick scan. Make sure that the quality of the picture is okay. If somebody's flash wasn't working, you might brighten up the picture just a little bit, or maybe briefly recenter. You didn't take a lot of time to edit pictures. It was only if they absolutely needed to, because they could edit themselves up at the viewing station. Just make sure, okay, this picture looks good. There's nothing inappropriate in it. Done. The idea was to scan a batch of pictures approximately every 5 seconds, if I remember right. It might have actually been 3 or 4. And it's just pull it up, zzz, looks good, next batch. And that's what you do, is just sit there and you click a button on the screen. Briefly, if it's a magic shot, for example, Tinkerbell on the hands, this is where the magic happens. That is actually where they put the magic items, whatever it may be, Tinkerbell, Stitch, the character, the balloons. QA is the place that happens. And they do, I think, maybe not, have an ability for AI to help with that now. But we actually had a person, all they did was magic shots. QA, there was a workstation, sometimes 2 if we were really busy, because all that metadata will screen for magic shots. It'll tag it magic shot, and it'll feed it immediately to the one station that's checking magic shots. And all they do is they sit there and they add in the things all day, plunking in Tinkerbell and whatever else may be in there. Make sure the shot is lined up correctly, lit up correctly, add in the magic. And again, it takes just a few seconds for each one. Boom, boom, and that's about what you're doing. For the ride photos, at the time I was there, the only ride we had on Photopass was Test Track. They've since taken over the last of the Kodak stations, which were running the other rides, and now every ride goes through Photopass. But at the time, it was just Test Track. And the picture for Test Track was only right as they were sitting right before they got launched into the wall, which would then open up. There was actually a hidden Mickey there at the time, made a rope on the side. And that was the picture. And you just checked it real quick, again, to make sure that nobody is making hand gestures, that nobody's making, inappropriate things, holding up something inappropriate. I had somebody one time when I was checking them that held up a paper sign that had curse words on it. Nope, delete. So if you've got something inappropriate in a picture, we deleted it. It got wiped. Boom. Bye-bye. Never see it. And that was just quick, easy. There's no questions asked. Here's the standards. If it's got a curse word, if it's got a certain hand gesture, if they're doing something inappropriate, if they're grabbing something, they're touching something, if they're showing something, it just delete. Click the picture, hit delete. Click the picture, hit delete. Done with batch. Next batch. So yeah, done with batch, next batch. So typically it's like 2 clicks. Done with batch, next batch. Load up the next group of pictures. And you sit there for 8 hours just skimming pictures. What happened with us trained as photographers, if we're out in the park shooting pictures or we're at the view and the queue started to back up and get really bad, they would actually pull a couple of us off of our photo locations if they weren't critical. So if we're shooting on Hollywood Boulevard and we've got, say, 4 of us, they may pull 1 or 2 in and have them start screening pictures. If we were in the view working and it was slow, we actually had a computer terminal in there connected to the network, and we could log into there and start screening pictures. Yes, you had to log in. You had your own personal login that they would set up, and so it would identify who was screening the pictures. So if pictures got through that shouldn't have, they could look and see, okay, who screened this and didn't do what they were supposed to do. So besides the photographers in the park that got pulled, There was a room there that it was just dedicated QA. It is no longer in the parks. They have since moved it off-site, and it is a group of people that all they do is QA. But at the time, QA were still photographers, and they could still be scheduled for photography shifts. They may even, if it was a really slow day, they might even step out of the QA building and go shoot pictures. That was exceedingly rare because it was usually the opposite problem, but they technically could. And it made it easy that if they started getting behind, we could pull photographers, send them up to the QA rooms, and then they could sit down and start doing it. Imagine a room that was probably 20 by 20, I want to say, and it's just desks all the way around. And then in the middle of the room, you had a couple groups of islands, and it's just people sitting there at computers going. On the surface, that sounds terribly boring. And on the surface, it was terribly boring. But we brought in music. Some people would do headphones. Other people, if depending upon what it was, might play it so everybody could hear. We talked, we chatted, we joked while we were screening. As long as you kept those screen numbers up, we had a good time. We would see good photos. If QA also does a whole deal that if there's a really good photo and they like it, they'll mark it as a good photo. And that thing gets sent to management, who would let the photographer know, hey, by the way, you got a good photo this week. So that was always nice when you heard that you got that. They also would collate pictures. All the photos that were marked good photo were then screened by management, and they would pick out 3 or 4 of them typically every 2 weeks for a backstage newsletter that we had. And those would get published as photos of the month or photo of the week. And that was always cool when you got that. I got one. So that was really neat. I've actually still got that little booklet. So here's the picture I took. They got photo of the month. Very proud of that, because that was hard to get. There were a couple people that got that a lot. Now, if somebody got a really good photo, it was not unusual for people in the room to go, hey, look at this picture. This is awesome. And the photographers would quickly jump up, take a look. Oh, hey, that's really cool. It gave you something to look forward to, a little bit of a break, something to talk about. If they saw something unusual, if they saw something they weren't sure about, hey, what do you think about this? Is this pose okay? And I actually found out about one of my own pictures not being up to standards. I had taken pictures the day before at Epcot during the festival and had taken some pictures of some kids jumping off of the playground on the rocks. And so I got them in the air jumping. Well, it was clear they were jumping off of something, and the queue had gotten so far behind the day before I came into QA, and that picture comes up, and they went, hey, yeah, that one's not going to go. And I looked over and went, really? What's right? Oh, that's mine. Because it didn't tell you who the photographer was. Oops. So that was real nice. If we saw something really funny, we would hold on to it. And QA would send those pictures on to management too. If there was something that needed to be retrained, we'd send them on. Because you have ways to be able to click a picture and said retrain or counsel or not good. So you did have a little list of stuff that you could mark a photo and then categorize it. Good photo, bad photo, out of focus, inappropriate, stuff like that. So you could kind of label it real quick as you're going through. We saw some stuff that occasionally was just off the wall funny. There was one photo that got saved and then deleted of a little baby eating a Cheeto, which, what's wrong with a baby eating a Cheeto? He'd probably, a year old or whatever. Except this baby, as he's eating the Cheeto, the way he's holding it, he's basically flipping off the camera, making a very inappropriate hand gesture. And it was this total dichotomy of innocent child, inappropriate, and it was hysterical. It was actually posted up on the walls. Look out for this. So yeah, that picture didn't get through. Sorry, even though it wasn't meant that way. You would see people on Main Street, at Magic Kingdom, that they would flash the camera or make rude gestures or come up behind the people taking the picture and try and do bunny ears and stuff. Yeah, those all got deleted. And if there was a security concern, there was a couple times that what people were doing, like flashing, yeah, okay, this one we're going to forward on to security and let them see, and they can look for this person who, may get a nice talking to later. I still remember we had one come through that as we're sitting there, all of a sudden, was a couple computer terminals over from me. The lady working was a friend of mine, and she screams. And of course, at this point, everybody's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And we all go running over. And it was a family picture, husband and wife, and their 2 kids who were probably like 8-10 years old. Mom had gone to Blizzard Beach, I think it was, in a suntan, in a tanning suit. Not a big deal if you're out there. What people don't realize is the tanning suit is actually a very fine mesh. So if you just look at it on the surface, it looks solid, but it's not. And when you hit that with a flash from a camera, it lights up and it shows how non-solid it is. And how transparent, because it lets the rays of the sun through to get a tan. And this lady was basically fully exposed. And yeah, that whole batch got deleted. And a note was sent to management to with just their faces to let lady know, don't take pictures in tanning suit. So that way they didn't get more and then get mad because there were no pictures. Every single picture, delete. No, those did not get saved. We did have a couple pictures occasionally, very rarely. You were not supposed to save the pictures, but there were a couple that did get saved as examples for QA, as examples for other photographers. I had one that got saved as an example, sort of what not to do. I was shooting pictures over at Tony's restaurant at Magic Kingdom. They would do a special deal where Mickey would come in with Tony from Lady and the Tramp, and he would meet the people in the restaurant and take autographs and stuff. And it was sometimes advertised, sometimes it wasn't. But because it was a special little deal, we would send a photographer up and take pictures. It was supposed to be no autographs, just so Mickey come in, say hi to everybody real quick and get out. We had one family, it was a big group, and came up with the autograph books. And I took this picture of the lady standing here with the autograph books. And Mickey is standing there with this expression on his face like, what do I do with this? And Tony's just bug-eyed at how many books. I mean, it's this big old stack of books. They're not supposed to do autographs. And you're not supposed to take a picture of the autographs to help discourage that. And I shot this picture anyways. It got sent to my manager as, I think he got marked as a retrain. But he came up to me. I literally had just finished shooting. So QA was on the ball this day. And I had come down, I'd taken a break and came back in from break. And just going, hey, we got to chat. What? He says, well, let me show you this picture. And he's laughing because it's so not what we're supposed to do. And the expressions. And we're just cracking up over this picture. And he goes, you know you're not supposed to shoot this. Oh, sorry. But it's so funny. We'll use this as a retrain. We're going to keep this picture and use it to train others. But you know you're not supposed to. And we're just laughing the whole time. And I finally, can I get a copy of it? I'm not supposed to give you a copy. Can you give me a copy of it? So I managed to talk him into printing off a paper copy of it. So there's the photo. And you can see the expressions. And yeah, it was not unusual to get a picture marked retrain. If you got it a lot, that would be a problem. But just an occasional here and there was no big deal. And we loved looking through the photos of the month or photos of the day and just getting a feel for what other people were doing and what worked and what didn't. But yeah, QA helped me kind of expand my abilities, see more, do more, and end up doing a lot of things that... seeing a lot of things that maybe I shouldn't. But that's a little look at QA. Like I said, now it's off-site. They do still screen every picture, every ride photo, every magic shot. So that hasn't changed, although I'm sure the software has updated a lot in, 19 years. So I do have questions. I would love to hear. Please share it in the comments below. I would also very sincerely love to thank all my supporters, my patrons, my YouTube members. One of the things I have been slacking on these last couple months with traveling and everything else, I have had a couple of new patrons sign on, and I have not given them their shout out, and they're just, due rewards here. So I am very, very sorry. If you have signed on to Patreon lately, either as a free member or a new member, I'm sorry I haven't done the shout outs. Please forgive me. But I do encourage you to go check it out. There's benefits and perks there. So I owe a very long overdue shout out to Scotty B. Thank you so incredibly much. And to Brock. I owe a mail package to Brock. Brock has been so incredibly patient and supportive. But thank you, Brock. Thank you, Scotty B. Thank you to the new members that have signed on. I so appreciate y'all and your support. Again, if you want to know more about that, check out Patreon. Those are kind of my backbone. The encouragement, the criticism at times, hey, you may not want to do that one. So yes, they have seen videos that never see the light of day. It's a wonderful group of people. If you want to know more, check the description below. Thank you so incredibly much for watching. God bless.
Wow, look at all those names.
Yeah, that's all of our supporters on Patreon and our YouTube members.
Oh, that's cool. That's actually how I started out.
Yeah, it was. But of course, you remember, you have to be a subscriber first.
And yeah, if you haven't done that, be sure to hit that button right there.
Yeah, not the cat, just the button. And if you want to see another one of our videos, hit that button over there.
And if you want to know more about supporting us, hit that button.
Of course, you don't want to hit my buttons. That makes me sing.
No. And we do not want to do that to Craig.
Well, maybe...
Thanks for watching.
God bless.